Hello!
Hello.
Hi! It is not March, it's May the 8th. I keep thinking it's April, but I
Just
think
check that,
I
didn't
know,
you?
literally just before we started filming, I checked that. I think because basically April was a write off, I keep thinking it's April, but yeah, no, it is the 8th of May, which makes it day 49 of our lockdown, but also it is VE Day today,
Yeah.
which normally I have to confess kind of passes me by as a bit of a non-event. But this year I'm noticing it more because our street are having a VE Day street party. Now they've been very careful to sort of say obviously all social distancing rules apply, and actually in our street people do seem to be, they're not all like gathering together, but people are in
People are
their
sort of
front
sitting in their
gardens
own
and
front gardens, having a drink. There's a bit of music
yeah,
earlier.
the music was playing. It was
Um,
all nice. There's quite a lot of Union Jacks out, which I'm wondering, like, did they already have those, or
it's
did they buy
weird.
those? Where do
It's
you go to
weird
buy a bunch of Union Jacks now?
because we're in Wales as well, which is
Yeah,
like I know the Union flag covers England, Wales,
it fucking
and
doesn't
Scotland,
though, because it's
but
got
it's
all of the other flags involved, and the
apart
Welsh
from the
flag's
Welsh one,
not in there.
but it's supposed to cover
Bullshit.
those. It's supposed to be a flag for those
Yeah,
combined areas, but nonetheless, it's usually in England that you see them. They're not
yeah,
very prevalent in Wales, so it's a bit weird to go.
yeah. Where have
A
they got
lot of
all of
people
this
in our
from?
street, and not like one each, but like some people have put like
There's a lot of
six
flags
or
out
eight
there. Yeah.
flags on one house. It's and bunting. It's very feels a little bit national pridey.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I like,
Mm,
obviously, VE Day, it's a good thing to mark. It's the end of the Second World War, the defeat over Nazis and fascism. It's all a good thing. I'm like,
mm.
don't get me wrong. Like, obviously, I'm all for defeating Nazis. Um, but
Well, what would
I
be
find
nice?
the way VE Day feels now has maybe, and it's unfortunate because actually there may
Yeah,
well be a lot of people who are just commemorating it respectfully. But when I see a load of Union Jacks on a house, my brain immediately does go to the sort of Britain First parade,
yeah, and
and that's
there's
not my bag.
nothing wrong with celebrating VE Day and marking what is an important historic occasion. Absolutely great, but it just I see that many Union Jacks flying in a house and I just feel a bit icky. You know,
Yeah,
like
me
it reminds me of
too.
like a flat roof pub where um, where there's maybe sort of one person of an ethnic minority, but he's sort of their ethnic minority mate, and they don't really want
Yeah,
any others coming in. You know, the sort of vibe, and it's just,
yeah. And they've
um,
given him a nickname Dave because they can't say his
yeah, and
name.
they're probably all still a bit homophobic as well, and it's all just a bad scene.
Which is a shame because
I'm
that
not
is
saying
not.
that any of our neighbours are
No,
like
no,
that.
no, no.
I
They might
mean,
be.
some of them might. The more I found out about our neighbours, the less
Not
interest
all
I'd
of
had in
them.
getting to know
I
them.
very much like some of our
Harriet across
neighbours.
the road is really nice.
Next door,
Uh,
lovely.
I will give
Next
Harriet.
door, both
I've,
sides are
I've
lovely.
not met Harriet's mum, but I'll give her a pass. She's Harriet's mum. I assume she's broadly fine. The neighbours on either side are nice, and when I lost my cat, they let us in. But I expect there's. I don't want to sound like a snob, but I bet there's a lot of sort of primetime ITV1 viewers on the that does sound very
You
snobby, doesn't it? I am a
snob.
snob.
Yeah, that
I
does
am a
sound bad.
snob. You shouldn't be watching. We've got Netflix and Amazon Prime now. There's no excuse for watching whatever they put on prime time. There's the occasional good drama, but
Yeah, you sound like a snob.
I
Um,
bet a lot of them watch Good Morning Britain.
yeah, I bet. Although, actually, I've got to say, it's a weird time because currently, and a lot of people are saying this, but unfortunately, I am repeatedly agreeing with Piers Morgan, and that makes me feel dirty.
Well, it's just the fact that Piers Morgan is being held up as this kind of.
How is he the voice of the people?
Where's the rest of the left-wing press? But
The rest of the rest.
well,
He's not yet.
where
Where are the
exactly?
left
Where
wing
are the left-wing
press?
press? But where's anyway?
Yeah.
But yeah, people in this street. It's not really my bag. The kind of street party thing. Because I'm an antisocial curmudgeon and I don't want to get to know my neighbours. But like they are socially distancing and they seem to be having fun and
Yes, I quite
and
like the vibe. It
some
feels
of the
nice. I can
music
hear
was
the
actually
music.
quite to my taste, so that was all right.
Oh,
They played a bit of Wham
did
and
they?
a bit of AC/DC.
Yes, I did clock the ACDC.
So I like all of that. But the next street along, I went to take the dog for a walk and I had to go to the woods where I walk her, and on my one daily exercise, and there were people there who were out in the front of their houses in the street, but except they weren't in their front gardens. They were literally sitting on deck chairs on the street, and in some places either side of the street, so that if I wanted to maintain social distancing, I had to walk down the middle of the road.
Which I don't want to encourage our dog to walk in the middle of roads.
No, and it's not...
Like, that's not a good... Like, I generally sort of... When I walk her, it's sort of, if I'm crossing a road with her, I sort of make her stop and then cross the road so that she knows to kind of... Oh, we don't... So that if she did get out and went off for a wander on her own, that she would stay on the pavements. I don't... Also, it's kind of rude making people walk in the road.
This is it.
It's not busy around here.
There's just no sense of them kind of going, oh, there's someone coming, we best move, or even look a bit apologetic or sheepish. Just, they couldn't give a shit. And it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not a busy stretch of road, although, as Ellie's just pointed out, we don't really want our dogs to be in the habit of thinking it's fine to walk in the middle of the road.
Sorry, there's a dog
we were
possibly knocking the table there a bit.
We were safe. It wasn't a busy stretch of road, and I probably come across as like
that doesn't look very good, does it?
A bit uptight or a bit of a misery guts.
Sorry.
I'm making a serious point here.
Sorry.
Stop playing with my dick. But she wasn't. It's just a dog.
Yeah. I was playing with a pretty girl.
But yeah, I probably come across as a bit of, I don't know, a bit of a curmudgeon or a bit uptight about all this or whatever. But like, I'm just trying to follow the social distancing rules that we're all supposed to be doing in lockdown.
And I think we're
a little bit. And I feel
the anxiety's gone back up a little bit in these last few days, isn't it?
And it's kind of going, okay, so it's nice weather and it's VE day and people want to have a street party, but it's just also that sense of like those stories in the press that lockdown was going to be ending Monday was essentially how it was presented.
Yeah.
And
there has been a bit more clarity on that today, which we'll come to. But yeah,
but it feels like this is kind of the knock-on effect of that, is that people think, yeah, it's fine now. It's just, and then when I came back out of the woods, there was a whole congregation of people on one side of the street all chatting and drinking, and it's like, this is not one household. No. This is just people congregating in groups, which is, you know, and I'm not about to kind of ring the police or anything, but
yeah, it just feels a bit, I don't like. We're all quite fatigued with being in lockdown now. We're all a bit fed up, and we want to just be able to have a chat without having to constantly be thinking about, oh, am I keeping my dad? I would love to just. My parents only live 2 streets away. I'd love to just wander over there, sit in their garden with them, have a glass of wine and a chat. But I know we're not supposed to, so I'm not doing it.
Because it is beautiful weather. It'd be like
gorgeous.
Your parents have got a lovely garden, haven't they?
Yeah.
We'll probably talk them into a barbecue, maybe. I don't know.
I'd probably they'd be like, yeah, you could cook a barbecue in the garden. We'll eat it.
Fine. Deal.
But yeah, so there's loads of, and I get it. Like, and I think people are a bit fatigued with it. Like we all are. Like we're fed up, but just. Like, I'm a bit like I say, the anxiety's creeping back in. I was just sort of, like, it goes up and down, and I think everybody else is the same, but, like, I felt like we were in the swing of it, and then this sort of suggestion that things are going to be eased off. I'm doing a lot of extra reading, and I'll hear a story, and then I'll look into it in more depth. But you can't assume that that's what everybody's doing. So if people are just sharing, oh, I think the lockdown's going to be eased on Monday, and then that's just what they think is true. And then, yeah, like you say, you might as well relax now if you're going to be able to relax on Monday. It's only a few days, no big difference. And it's just like, I don't want to keep dwelling on it, but early on in this, I felt like I could see where we were going. And I was right. Yeah. And now I feel uncomfortably certain that we're heading towards a second peak that's going to be much worse than the first. Well, I don't want to be right.
This is it. Ellie was.
But I feel like that.
Ellie was saying to me the other day. You were saying you'd look back at kind of some of the early vlogs, and some of the things we were predicting in terms of how things were going to go have turned out to be exactly the case. And it's not because we're
not oracles,
and we're not super intelligent, and we're not better than other people. We don't have access to any other privileged information. It's just that we are, you know, looking at the information that's
and
out
looking
there.
at how it's happened in other countries that were there before us,
and
just comparing how the lockdowns have been and what rules, how strict it's been, and what's going on. And we've never really got on top of it. Now isn't the time to be easing lockdown. The thing that actually is quite a pithy phrase that I think matters is if lockdown measures are eased, that doesn't mean this is over. It just means there's room in intensive care. Let's not try and fill it to capacity, eh? Let's just comfortably plough through without pressing our NHS to breaking point. But I really don't, because we are just repeating ourselves, and I don't want to just be shouting at the same stuff every day. So they did clarify today, because obviously we're still saying Sunday night Boris Johnson is going to be announcing in an address to the nation some things that are going to change on Monday. They've clarified in today's press briefing. Dude, I don't recognise, something Eustace. Don't know what his job is, but he's some government schmo. So he basically said, don't expect drastic changes. And just I don't want to prejudge what Boris is going to say on Sunday, but don't expect drastic measures. This is absolutely not an end to lockdown. Calm your boots. The Welsh minister has announced today what because it's all devolved. So actually Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales can do what they like with lockdown. They can do whatever they see fit. Obviously they can't close the border to England, so what happens in England will have a knock-on effect here and in Scotland, of course, but the rules will be locally decided. So whatever his face, Drakeford, who is the Welsh minister, basically said today, in Wales, we are definitely continuing lockdown for the 3 weeks, because that gets reviewed every 3 weeks. Definitely still lockdown. The couple of things that they are willing to look at relaxing slightly, firstly, is that you can exercise more than once a day, which, lovely, but let's be honest, anyone could have been doing that anyway, because they're not like standing at your door going, nope, you've already left the house today. So I assume anybody that was keen to do that was probably already doing that.
I mean, I haven't been. So
no.
I might, if the weather stays nice like this, I might start doing a couple of early evening jogs.
Nice.
But don't hold me to that, viewers at home, because I may well not.
Yeah. Well, it is nice to know that you can and that you're not breaking any rules, but I imagine some people haven't been being very strict with that anyway.
No.
But I think maybe then making that announcement feels like they're throwing you a bit of a bone, so you can sort of go, oh, good, like they are, like we're going in the right direction towards easing. The other things are that garden centres are allowed to reopen. I imagine, again, that's a bit of a bone throwing, because they're going to still have to do all social distancing in the same way that other shops are. But I imagine also because people are locked down, same as why they've reopened sort of B&Q and other hardware stores and things like that, is because people are stuck in the house, they're wanting to do DIY and redecorate. Also, people probably want to do some gardening. And maybe it's throwing a little bit of a bone, just kind of be like, okay, go on then, you can do that. I also thought about garden centres. They're probably still having to run on a kind of skeleton staff anyway, so even when they're not open, because they've got plants that they've got to water. Quite often they have aquariums. Why do garden centres always have aquariums? But like they've got fish and sometimes pets, and so there's probably people having to go in anyway. It's a small part of the economy that they're like, okay, well maybe that's an economy that might boom at the moment. We might as well let that happen as long as you're careful about it. And that's it. Also libraries and recycling points. So again, the recycling points, I think they've noticed a massive increase in fly tipping because probably people are stuck in the house, so they're finally sorting out those cupboards and doing those DIY jobs. And then because the tips are closed and the recycling centres are closed, they're fly tipping, which is a dick move. Like, put it in your garden, chuck it in a skip when this is all over. But okay, if it is happening, reopening, because at least that's mainly, like, garden centres are big and airy and largely outdoor. Same with tips and recycling centres. They seem to be sort of suggesting that largely outdoor areas that you are well ventilated and you can keep your distance, maybe those, if you're careful about it, can reopen, which I can't hugely argue with. I can see the thinking there. It's not major. This is not, hey, the pubs are open, so fine. I'm not going to be going to any garden centres. I'm not going to be going to the tip. But yeah, I can see the need, well, maybe not the need, but I can see the desire, and I think overall it's probably not too harmful.
My friend Josh, on the subject of VE Day, before we sort of move on from that, my friend Josh has been dealing with people in a care home.
Yes.
He posted about this on Facebook.
Oh, I think I might have seen this
earlier,
status.
and he was saying he was speaking to some elderly people who kind of lived through the Blitz and things and World War II, and they were actually saying that lockdown is worse than that. Now, obviously, there's ways in which, like, it's easier in terms of we've got technology and things to communicate and entertainment and things that we didn't have then. But
they're not saying it's harder than it was for like soldiers on the front line.
No, but they're saying like
but for
to live
for
through
the everyday
as a
person.
civilian. Obviously, it was scarier in some ways, and when the actual air raid was happening, that was very scary. But in between times, you had your friends, you could go out, you could see people, and this is a whole different type of thing. That some of them are finding it harder in some ways, and the only reason I say that is to make the point that Josh was making on Facebook. It's his point. He's a very clever guy, but basically, if you're struggling with any of this during lockdown, you know, don't feel bad about that because
actually people who've been through a world war are saying that this is worse.
And this is a tough time for everyone. And, you know, and we often on this, I come down quite hard on people that feel like kind of breaking the rules or kind of not taking it seriously. And I do think that we should be taking it seriously and following all the instructions. But that is not to say that this is necessarily easy.
No.
And that it isn't, you know, and that we don't want to be able to kind of go and sit in a beer garden or all the other things that people are missing, you know.
Yeah, well, actually, that leads me on though, because that leads me on to quite a nice thing. So, with it being VE Day today, I thought I'd give my gran a ring. So my gran's 97, so she remembers the war quite well. She was born in 1923. So she was sort of in her early 20s and things when the war was going on, so she remembers it all quite well. And so I was talking to her about it, and I was they'd split the topic of the what was that little grin for? The topic of sort of the war came up, and I sort of mentioned actually that Josh sort of said that some elderly people are sort of saying that in some ways this is harder, and what did she think about that? And she essentially agreed. She said, she was very sweet. She sort of said, well, I'm in a good position because I've got family. Although we're not able to see each other, I've still got people to talk to, and people are calling and having a chat. And also, she's very much still got her wits about her. My gran, she's very sharp, and she stays very in touch with the world. She reads the daily newspaper. Unfortunately, it's the Daily Mail. But thankfully she doesn't share its hateful views. She reads the Daily Mail, she reads the paper every day, she watches the news, she is in touch with the world in a way that some people maybe aren't, so she doesn't feel so detached from it in lockdown. But she said, we were sort of talking about how all of this is really making you appreciate the little things a lot more. And she said that they've got like a little bench. She lives in it's not exactly sheltered accommodation. It used to be, and then they were austerity cuts, and now it's just a supported living. So basically, somebody visits, and they've got like handymen that they can call on and stuff. But essentially, it's for people over 50 or people with health problems and things. And so she lives in one of those sorts of places. So they don't have a garden, but around the front they've got a bench, and it's sort of like a grassy verge. And so when she hasn't got a garden of her own, so when she needs a bit of fresh air, she tends to go out the front and sit on the bench for a bit. It's basically like sitting in her garden. So she said she was out sitting on the bench today, and she was noticing how many daisies they were, and she was really appreciating them, and she was watching the bees sort of land on the dandelions and the daisies. And she sort of talked about the fact that they mow it down frequently. But she then described it, but the daisies, they don't take long before they pop back up, cheeky little things. And I was just like, it's literally the equivalent of stopping and smelling the roses. She was really appreciating being outside and just the little things of watching the daisies, looking at the daisies. And I think
what we've learned from this is we need to get her Netflix. Or Spotify or something.
She's got everything she needs.
Daisies.
It's nice. Don't make this not nice.
I'm joking.
But it was lovely. But she was sort of talking about comparing it to wartime spirit and the fact that it is sort of bringing out the community spirit in people, which is lovely. Like our street have had quite a lot of things going on, like the Friday night music things and stuff. And overall, I really like that those sorts of things. They're not particularly my bag, but it's nice that they're going on. It's nice that some people are taking some joy in that, and I know more of my neighbours than I did. Not that we're like having face-to-face chats, but because of all of that, I've discovered that there's a Facebook group which we're now in. We weren't in it, but we're in it now.
Yeah. What was that about?
But yeah, it's
I don't want
it's
anything
nice.
to do with my neighbours, but neither do I want to be excluded.
And I think when this is all over, whenever that may be, and I think certain things might change permanently from the way we do things, some for the better, I think. But I think the little things that I will really appreciate, and I think a lot of people will really appreciate, is just being able to invite your friends round. Just being able to give your mum a hug. Just really, like, little things that are part of the everyday that we can't do now. And really, it's not the big stuff that I particularly missing. I don't particularly care about, I can't go to a gig, or I can't, like, it would be nice to, but they're not the things I'm missing. It's the little things, like I want to be able to give my niece a hug, play with my niece. I would love to be able to play with my niece right now. And when this is all over, I'm fucking gonna, whether she likes it or not. She's having some time with Auntie Ellie. Yeah, I'm gonna be clingy and annoying. That's what my plan is. But yeah, so I think like there are obviously, I wouldn't wish this on the world in a million years, but there could be blessings we could take out of it maybe when this is all over.
Just be a bit more mindful, I guess.
Yeah.
And a bit more appreciative of stuff.
Maybe just slow down a little bit and think to reach out to that member of your family that you don't talk to that often, and just check in with your friends more and appreciate your time with your friends and your family. Because those are the things you miss when you can't do it. Much more, because I can't even explain how much. So if they literally just sort of like for 1 minute without any risk, you can just do one thing. I want to give my parents a hug. Like, I really want to. And that's such a little thing in life, but that's something I'm really wishing I had, which tells you, like, those are the things that matter. And when we can get them back, we should remember how much we appreciate them. That's a bit trite, isn't it? But it is true. Those are the things that matter, and we should appreciate them. And I think through this, like, I've learned to appreciate you so much more, because it could, like, there are people who are probably, look at that little face. There are people that I know that this has tested relationships, and some have not survived the test. I know of quite a few relationships that have ended since lockdown has started. Also, there are other people who are in maybe not particularly happy relationships that don't take, it's not like they're not grateful for the fact that they're locked in with each other. It's like, oh God, I wish I wasn't locked in with him. Well, I'm so grateful that I've found someone that makes this better. so thanks for that. Well done. Well done, Babs.
But then also there's some people who are single who would prefer not to be at the best of times maybe, and are now in lockdown on their own.
Yeah.
We are very, as much as we kind of moan on here sometimes, and complain and sort of, we're very grateful to have each other and to have the pets and a nice home to live in.
I think it's really brought us closer. I think all of this, which is nice, because I think it's made us realise, well, this is a very stressful thing to go through, and we hadn't really had, like, you sort of, I think that really tests a relationship, is how you deal with tough times. It's like it's very easy to be a happy couple when everything's nice.
If you can cope with me with my full lockdown hair,
and the beard's coming back, by the way.
The hair is full lockdown today.
I quite like the big old floppy hair.
It's a bit.
At some point, it's probably going to become a bit much, but at the moment, I'm enjoying it.
I mean, it's particularly unkempt today, and I don't particularly mind or care because we're in lockdown.
It's quite sort of 90s Kurt Cobain.
Oh, I'll take that.
Yeah,
that's all right.
So get into that kind of.
As long as people know that I'm self-aware of it. You know what I mean? I don't want them sat at home going,
this wasn't a stylistic choice.
Does he think he looks dead smart? Does he? he's filming this. Presumably he's made an effort. No, I didn't. I haven't made an effort.
With
and
these
that's fine. I just don't want you to think that this is how I look if I make an effort.
I would not be allowed to throw stones right now with. Well, I've got 2 long eyelashes on this eye that are like about twice the length of the rest of the eyelashes.
Yeah.
And I've got roots, and my hair is a mixture of colours. I have not given up all bodily grooming. I have still been shaving my legs and things, but yeah, I look like a proper mess.
I tell you what, while we've still got a bit of time,
Yeah.
I've had a bit of good news. It's probably better news for me than it is for most of the people watching this. It's certainly
pretty good news.
Relative to kind of the global pandemic. It's quite minor, but I found out that I found this out a little while ago, but it's only been announced kind of publicly on the BBC website today. But some stand-up that I recorded and was filmed by the BBC a while ago when we were still allowed to have audiences, thankfully.
Sorry, it was a fly.
It is being broadcast on the 22nd of May at 11:15. There's going to be some other great Welsh stand-ups as well on there. And that's on BBC One.
BBC One.
Actual.
You will have done stand-up on BBC One.
That's all right, isn't it?
That's pretty good. I remember the gig. I went to the whole gig because it was a full-length gig that they cut down because they originally used it for BBC Sesh, which is an online. So they put out little clips every day. So they sort of edit it down to little bits. So they're kind of amalgamating quite a lot of people who filmed gigs for that and doing a sort of stand-up showcase, which I think will be brilliant. I don't think it's going to be it's the first time, but not the last time you're going to be on BBC One, and you should be rightfully proud.
What the future holds at this point, but yeah, it's nice, when you grow up watching stand-up on the television to be like,
I'm going to be in stand-up on the television,
and not,
on a real channel and everything.
It's the BBC, that's the sort of thing that impresses your nan, I think.
That impresses me.
So I'm
impressed.
That. I am happy about that. It's pretty cool, and I realised, by the way, if anyone's only seen if people had started watching this in the last few, and I don't know why people would suddenly get on board now, but for the last few of these, we've been quite.
They've not been a laugh a minute.
Quite ranty, quite angry in places, quite grumpy. I might not seem. You might think, him doing stand up. I'm not. I'm a laugh, guys. Honestly, remember earlier when I pretended Ellie was playing with my dick? She wasn't. That's just a joke I was doing. I got loads of gems like that in my back pocket. I'm pretty funny guy, guys.
Yeah, I'd be like the boy who cried wolf though, because I could play with your dick now, and then you just tell them that that's what I was doing, and they wouldn't believe you.
I mean, that is not the end of the... I mean, oh no, like the boy who cried wolf. Oh, she played with my dick and no one believed me. It was the worst. I mean, I could probably live with that. I could live with that.
Yeah.
Maybe that will happen one day. You'll never know. Your mum watches this.
Yep. So does your dad.
Yeah. And
we've lived together for 9 months. I've seen his penis.
What? When? I've been really careful. What are you on about? Have you been peeking when I've been weeing when you're in the bath?
No. Of all the things that I would peek at, if I'm in the bath and you're having a wee, I'm giving you your privacy.
That's fair enough, because I'm not weeing in the bathroom either, so... I don't know where I'm going with it. Anyway, yeah. I'm doing some stand-up on the BBC.
Yeah.
It's too late now, they can't retract it.
It's happening.
It's happening.
It's been announced.
No,
that will be really good. I'm really excited about that. I'm very proud of you, my love. So yeah, that's it's nice to have a bit of good news at the moment, and that is objectively good news.
What happens in stand-up, like you see, if you're just a stand-up comedy fan, like I was when I was a teenager, and maybe you're not old enough to go out and go to the local, or you don't go to the local comedy clubs, you just see stand-up when it's on TV, and you'll see someone appearing on like a panel show, or like a stand-up show like Live at the Apollo, and it seems like people are just overnight successes. But getting anywhere in comedy is a long old grind, and involves driving around the country and doing gigs for no money, and just learning your craft and your training.
You've grafted at this for a long old time now,
and it's a long old slog, and I'm not complaining, because you have a lot of fun along the way, and you meet a lot of people and have a lot of cool experiences. But the last few years, I've really slowly, I've had some, like I did a BBC sort of panel show on the radio last year, and and I did. And I've done various, like doing the BBC Sesh stuff, having sketches put out for the BBC Online, and just a few things about where you go, like, and it's easy because it's such a long, slow sort of process, and you kind of gradually through these things, and you sometimes you want to stop and look back and go, like, if the me of, you know, the teenage me could look and go, oh, he's like, we wouldn't believe it. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it is good to look back and go, well, actually, although sometimes it might feel like a slog, look at how far you've come. That's brilliant. So yeah, just remember that on those days where it's, because obviously it is a bit grim, it's a bit sad at the moment, sort of not quite knowing how things are going to go with that, but like people all still want a laugh. It just might be that we're do things a bit differently for a while,
and we don't know what the comedy scene is going to look like after all this.
There's going to be so many Corona jokes,
but it's really nice to be like, well, whatever happens, I've got some stand-up on the BBC, and also I've filmed a show of mine that I'm really proud of, and I'm waiting on the final edit.
We might be able to get that out to people.
Getting out to people in some form at some point, and that was all filmed again long before any of this lockdown happened, so that it's got an actual audience.
Yeah, it wasn't last year; it was the year before's Edinburgh show, wasn't it?
There's like an audience and laughter and.
It is good. I've seen the rough edit. I can't wait for that to be out.
And like I said, I don't know what stand-up is going to look like after all this, and how long before I can hope to start getting any sort of regular gigs again. But it's nice to go like, oh, those are some things that are just like, you know,
objectively braggable.
You know, well, not braggable, but just
I'll brag about them.
Things that exist and are like records of things that, you know, things you can show the grandkids when
tangible, sort of like, oh, that was a definite thing.
When they're old enough for some of the rules. But yeah, because you know, when I was a kid, I used to watch Eddie Izzard videos and things like video, you know, and that was
me too.
Even before I ever.
Funnily enough, he was my gateway into stand-up as well.
Mine too, and even before I ever thought I realistically could even do stand-up at all, like I sort of used to think, oh, it'd be amazing to have a video, and obviously. There aren't really videos now, and these days it's all like streaming stuff online, which doesn't feel to me, as someone who grew up in that era of videos, like streaming to me just doesn't feel like it's got the same sense of permanence of having something you can go to a shop and buy and bring home. But then having said that, a lot of those videos are probably in landfill now. So, you know.
Well, yeah, I guess you've got like with the online culture though, you do have like you rack up numbers of views, and that is tangible because you can't fake those. They're there, and like so for clips and things to have like.
Yeah, but to have a
views is tangible.
To have but just to have a show that's like a special that's filmed and exists is cool.
Well done, Babs.
And doing this stand up on the BBC again. That we'll put the link that's on the Friday the 22nd. And oh god, we've rambled on. We've run out of time. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I just really
that's nice. Nice to leave it on something nice.
Yeah.
So there were some grim things we could have talked about today, but I had a day off. Enjoy your stuff. Stop and appreciate the little things.
Enjoy your fucking stuff, guys.
Enjoy your fucking stuff.
We're going to have a sort of quasi-barbecue.
Yeah. So we will see you tomorrow for day 50. Fucking hell.
Fucking hell.
Fucking hell.
Fucking hell, guys.
Fucking hell, guys.
Fucking hell.
Fucking hell.
Fucking hell.